Welcome to the Plant-Based Podcast. Did you know that plants are truly amazing? Not only can you grow them and eat them, you can also wear them, drink them, nourish your skin with them, and so much more. Let Ellen and Michael inspire you to love plants as much as they do, as they chat with the movers and shakers in this wonderful plant-based world. So, let's dig in.
Series 6 of the Plant-Based Podcast is brought to you with the help of Vivara UK. Vivara are a team of garden wildlife experts, and their mission is to make nature accessible to everyone. They provide ideas and solutions to create more wildlife habitats, from large green spaces to small urban areas. Join them at vivara.co.uk today.
Welcome to the Plant-Based Podcast News.
Your horticultural news roundup for the week.
Potato milk hits UK supermarket shelves this week. The dairy alternative is on sale in Waitrose, described as deliciously creamy and capable of producing the perfect foam for a homemade latte or cappuccino. The Swedish potato milk brand Doug is now available for you to whip up your best latte. The alternative milk market is now worth $400 million a year.
Wildlife YouTuber Jojo Sipawat has discovered a new species of tarantula. Jojo is most known for his videos about Thailand's wildlife, and he has discovered the first known tarantula to live exclusively inside bamboo stalks.
Climate change is causing UK plants to flower almost a month earlier on average, according to a study. Just as autumn leaf fall is being delayed by warmer weather, flowers are appearing earlier on trees and shrubs, and scientists are warning of the risks. Ecological mismatch may kick in, which would have a dramatic effect on the functioning and productivity of nature and farming, said lead researcher Professor Ulf Buntgen of the University of Cambridge. Our climate system is changing in a way that affects us and our environment, he told BBC News.
If you rent your home, you're probably reluctant to develop the garden. However, Matthew Pottage is here to lend a hand. He's got an innovative new book called How to Garden When You Rent. It's available now in all good bookshops, and it is stuffed with tips on how to garden in the here and now.
And lastly, on Plant-Based Podcast News today, vegan pop icon Billie Eilish has kicked off her latest world tour. Featuring music from the songwriter's 2021 album, Happier Than Ever, the concerts also boast an eco-friendly twist. During the international tour, Billie Eilish will champion various environmental organisations and encourage fans to take a pledge to eat more plant-based foods. Here we are. We're in the Plant-Based Podcast Gossip. What can be going on today? Who knows what comes out when we chat about plants?
I know. Well, we are going to have a bit of a themed gossip today. So we're going to talk about careers, because I've been at the YPHA event last week and I was really inspired by all the young people there. But before we move to that, Ellen, is there anything you need to get out of your system? Anything you need to moan about? 5 minutes for that.
Should we have 5 minutes of moaning?
I know. I said I'd be here at 7, then I said 7:30, then it's 7. But I had some cabbage. I didn't know when it would be cooked. That was my problem.
Hold on.
Could you guess that?
Hang on a minute. So you're telling me you basically sacked me off for half an hour because you thought your cabbage was going to be ready, right? Is this it? I literally changed around my whole afternoon for you. But, you know,
not the whole thing. Come on.
The whole thing. Like, I was being really dramatic. It was just a whole drama there. That was
I'm sorry. I was making Korean cabbage.
Fine. I'm completely fine. You're making Korean cabbage?
Yeah. It was delicious. Oh, not kimchi. Don't be fooled by that. No, it was just with lovely chili sauce and such. And it was served with the Korean meatloaf. It is a recipe out of the Waitrose newspaper.
Oh, nice.
I couldn't have been more middle class. I had white tulips on my windowsill as well in a lovely mint green vase.
Yeah, the whole thing smells middle class. The whole thing smacks middle class. Actually, someone said, I was on a live the other night and somebody said, I'd said I have an allotment, and then the young girl who was interviewing me said, do I have a garden? I said, yeah, I have a garden. And then someone put, oh gosh, that's really middle class. And I was like, oh, I rent my house. It's a rented patio, really, but it is a garden, you know. And also, I rent the allotment. So neither of which are actually middle class whatsoever.
You can't do right by anyone nowadays, you know.
You can't say anything, can you? But what we can say is we can talk about our careers now, I do think.
Definitely, yeah. Because I think it's a while since we did this. And I think for listeners, you know, even past listeners, but maybe anybody that's joined us over the last kind of year or so, I think it's a good idea for us to just talk about how we got to where we are today and potentially where we're going afterwards. I'm not sure where we're going afterwards, actually. I'm probably
after our career?
Finish off the cabbage, but anyway. But yeah, because there was, I actually want to mention something there, because something piqued my enthusiasm. No.
I don't think it was enthusiasm.
Irritation?
I think you were irritated.
Well, I'm free to talk about it now because, one, I'm independent, but two, I've actually spoken to them since and kind of we've had a bit of outreach, which is cool because I'm not one for a Twitter/Instagram drama anyway. But the other day, the what do they call it? Keep Britain Green account of the HTA, isn't it? The Horticultural Trade Association.
Yeah. Yeah.
They put up a kind of infographic which was talking about why you should work in horticulture. And it was basically kind of all focusing on the fact that you get to have an active job and you work outside. And I just felt like that is such a dated view of horticulture in a way, because it's so much broader than that. And of course, yeah, for the feel-good factor, you know, the vitamin, what do we call it, vitamin G, for being outside and kind of all of those benefits. Yeah, of course, it's great if you are working in that sector, but it's not limited to that sector whatsoever. You know, you could be a breeder working inside a greenhouse. You could be, you know, writing copy, you know, creating content. You know, there's so many different roles. And I'm actually going to put something together to kind of find almost 101 different kind of careers, because there is so much out there, and it's not that you just end up being a landscape gardener. And I'm not saying people end up being a landscape gardener, but certainly the narrative that this put out there was like suggesting that's the only thing there, and kind of like, yeah, if you're coming into horticulture, then yeah, you're going to be spending time in the green. You might not want to. You might want to have an office job that is based around horticulture or PR or marketing. Anyway, I'm on my high horse. Come up.
I think you should just eat a little bit of licorice so you can just chill out for a moment.
What do you think?
As you know, like, I completely agree. So it would keep Britain growing, I think, is what it is. And all the intentions are absolutely good, you know, to encourage people to get into the horticultural industry. But I think that this is a really good moment for me just to tell you a little story about when I was at school, because this links into what you're saying, and I feel really passionate about that. Equally like you. I loved plants, but it wasn't, I didn't think it was cool. I don't think it was cool then. I don't think it was just my perception of it. I just don't think it was cool. I didn't know anyone else that liked plants, but I would go home and go to the garden and do some work in my parents' vegetable garden and at my uncle's. I used to love it. And I'd never admitted it. It wasn't a thing. No one discussed it. And then I got to my careers meeting when I was 15, I guess. we were in this little broom cupboard, and she opened this great big book of careers, and she said, what did I want to do? And I always wished that I was one of those people that knew exactly what I wanted to do. Like, I knew someone who just wanted to be a hairdresser. She wanted it so badly. She loved hair. She had all the hair magazines, and now she owns like numerous salons across the UK. She's amazing. But she knew what she wanted to do. And I was kind of a bit jealous of that, you know. And I sat there and I just said, I don't know. I don't know what I want to be. I don't know what I want to do. And so she said, well, what do you enjoy? And for the first time, like ever outside of my family, I said, well, I really like plants.
Oh.
And she looked through her careers book and she completely ignored what I just said and told me I could be a teacher or a nurse.
Really?
So she wasn't very nice, actually. She was horrible. I was so scared of her. Anyway, my point being that back then, which was 30 years ago now, horticulture wasn't considered an industry that you would go into unless you hadn't got very good grades, and then you were sent away to horticultural college or to do travel and tourism, which I might add is all completely wrong and incorrect, but that's what happened.
It was like Pop Stars, the rejects, you know?
Yeah, which is so wrong.
We were Liberty X.
We were Liberty X. I love how you compare us to pop stars. Anyway,
pop culture reference, I'm there every time.
So it was very much like about that outdoor thing. You didn't need any skill, apparently. You know, you didn't need. All you needed to do was.
And it was only an outdoor thing. Digging,
it was an outdoor thing. You just needed a fork and a spade, and you could be a gardener. And that's incorrect entirely. But and we have moved on a great deal, but we haven't moved on enough. And posts like that, unfortunately, prove that. You know, so that's what I mean. Like, in 30 years, we've moved a bit, but not enough. Because you think about all of the incredible careers in horticulture. I do partially wish I'd started them, but also I learned a lot more in the meantime. So, you know, life is meant to be how it's to be. But I'd feel really sad if somebody now thought that their only role was an outside role, when actually they want to design pictures or set designs, set designs, or they want to create content digitally, but that's actually still helping and working in horticulture. You know, so I think
might not be as visible perhaps, or classed as horticulture in a way.
But the horticulture the horticultural industry contributes billions to the economy. Now, if that was only the outside work, we wouldn't be contributing billions to the economy. It's so much more than that, you know?
Yeah, definitely. But I guess that's part of our role, to kind of highlight those things and kind of bring that to the fore, really. So, yeah. But hopefully, you know, we've reached out, and hopefully we can do some work on it together, and I can help them to realise that, you know, kind of the world's your oyster, and it's not... And I think also there's always the thing about kind of pay. And I remember I tweeted something similar kind of a few months ago, and then people were like, talking about kind of gardeners, outside workers, they're not well paid, and kind of, again, I hate that assumption that it's not well paid, because again, like with most things, it could even vary, you know. And it's just, I hate that people feel that way about it, because then if you kind of feel like that, then places will keep getting away with not paying you that well as well, perhaps.
Yeah, I know
it's very complex and very different in many places.
It is complex. And I think in all sectors, there are some lower paid jobs and some higher paid jobs. Yeah, and I do think that there are jobs in horticulture that should be paid more. You know, let's just remember, and the truth of the matter is that if you are gardening on the ground, so to speak, you are literally caretaking the planet. And that's actually a really big job, and it's important. I do believe that those wages should most definitely increase and be respected a lot more. But there are roles that you know, you definitely would be paid more for. And also, if you can, it's also about what you make of it. You know, what you make of the role, what your aspirations are. Yeah. You know, what do you want to do? Do you want to push yourself? Do you want more? Do you want, there's so much more to that complexity of that structure, you know.
I think actually, remembering my original tweet was something about people just assuming that all horticulture was low paid, and I was kind of like, you know, or assuming it was all outside, and I was kind of then pointing out that it is so much more broad what I did, and then they're kind of like, oh, well, you're probably not paid like a gardener or something. It's like, but then, yeah, it's complex, it's different, but you do need the drive. You need to, I know some people want to, they don't necessarily want to progress. They're very happy just doing what they do. But when you've got the drive, you can make anything happen. And this is what we saw at the YPHA event last week, those young people to have that behind them and to feel that they can go into a career with plants, which is not how we felt at all. And I'm kind of sort of, in a really cute way, jealous of them because they can be so much more open with their love of plants. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. But like also when we're talking about having drive, sometimes finances do give you that drive, So I do still definitely believe that gardeners in horticulture should be paid more. So I do think that's something that should happen personally. But going back to what you did say in the first place, which is, are there other careers outside, inside rather than outside? I was going to say outside of outside. Yes, there are absolutely tons. And I think that the industry has a duty to inform schools and careers and careers fairs and colleges and all of those kind of things, to make sure that young people know that those careers are there, So, anyway, let's go back to...
Well, no, just to add to that, just to echo what you were saying about school, and I, like with my career as advisor, was kind of similar because I was interested in plants. I must have said that. And then they come out with like really basic stuff like florist, I think it was. I don't think there was any other option, actually.
You didn't mean that florists are basic.
Sorry?
You didn't mean that florists are basic when you just said that.
No, but like that was the only one that was kind of fed to the computer, I guess. And so the suggestion was for me to go to horticultural college, I think, because, they saw flowers, plants, and that was where it would fit. And also that was kind of, potentially where you sent someone who wasn't quite sure as well. So I was again in that Liberty X group, but turns out I was quite happy. I was Michelle Heaton,
Okay. on that note, I would have been Jessica. I quite like Jessica.
Yeah.
So I think that then this is a good point. Like, what did you do when you left school? Like, what was the first step into horticulture for you?
Well, I just kind of fell into college really because I wasn't very confident when I was like in my teenage years at all. So I didn't want to. I don't know. For some reason, I didn't want to go to sixth form because I think I was done with school anyway. And I wanted to work with plants. I didn't know what I could do with plants. I was never very good at thinking ahead. And even now, I'm not. We often talk about people having goals in the future. I'm not really into that. I prefer to be in the here and now. Mm-hmm. And I was definitely like that when I was 16, 17. So I did this national diploma in horticulture at Artley College, which was a good grounding, but it wasn't necessarily giving me, well, I guess because horticulture is so different, actually. Yeah, I'm talking rubbish there because it was broad. And that is exactly what we need with horticulture, because I remember the lessons were everything from sports turf to driving tractors to garden design to obviously implementation, landscaping, but also economics, I remember as well. We did a business plan. So actually, even though I come away from there thinking I didn't learn that much because I just had this interest in plants and the plant ident, but actually it was all there on a plate. So just because I chose that angle, you could have moved into a lot of different directions from there, and they were admitting horticulture is a bit more broad as well, which is pretty cool.
That's really cool, actually. I didn't know that course was really as broad as that. I guess what happens next is how they encourage you to then enter into the world of horticulture. They give you that sort of grounding, but then what happens next? Do they have links to businesses? Do they tell you what all of those different careers are? Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, I guess that information sits within you until you work it out for yourself.
I remember now, but...
And it was a lot of years ago as well.
I know.
Things might have changed by now.
I was still at that point a very shy little boy, so I didn't really want to go to university or anything like that. So I remember getting to almost May, and this was the end of college year, and I didn't know what I would do. It seems really irresponsible now.
No, I don't think it is, and I actually think when you're that young, say 15 to 18. having to know what you want to do for the rest of your life is just so much. Like, there's not many of us. I know some do, and that's amazing, and I fully admire it. But if you don't beat yourself up about it, because I think things transpire in life. They happen. You find your way. And I'm in my 40s, and whilst I love gardening and plants and horticulture, I'm still not maybe necessarily 100% doing everything that I want to be doing within that.
That's good though. You can always evolve and change. And but I guess we're both people that are not scared of change, and a lot of people are scared of change. I thrive on it. I find it sexy.
Do you? Also, can I just say, having known you since like your 30s, I guess, I cannot imagine you as the shy college boy. Like, I literally don't know this person. It's like that's a whole other person.
Well, it's a whole other person to me. But I guess whoever you were at 18, like, I don't imagine you were ever shy, but you a different person to who you are now, right? Would you say?
100%. Yeah, I wasn't shy. Like, definitely not. I think when I was a young kid, I was shy or quieter. I'm always I was always a person.
But not necessarily shy to confident, but just different personality.
Yeah. Overall, a different person, especially at that age. I went through a whole rebellious streak for like 3 or 4 years at that age as well. And like you
didn't water your plants.
But I did. I've always watered my plants.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask. So I've got to the end of May and I haven't thought ahead. I'm kind of 18. What can I do? Don't want to go to uni, but before I tell you what I did next, what did you do when you left school? Because obviously they were saying, well, they didn't say you could work in flowers. They said you could be a nurse. So what did you do?
They said I could be a nurse or a teacher. And I went through a couple of years of just trying everything. I went to college. So I went to Great Yarmouth College of Further Education. And I lasted approximately, I don't even know, maybe 6 months, because I really didn't get on with it anymore. And I was doing like 4 A-levels and I just didn't enjoy it. I wanted to work. I wanted to get outside and experience life. I done biology, English.
So that was going towards one.
Yeah, I done biology, English literature, media, and then I done chemistry, but I dropped that first because it was like way over my head. I don't know why I thought I could do that.
You probably just wanted to set fire to your shell suit on the Bunsen burner.
My shell suit, do you know what? That's so true as well. But yeah, it's funny how things come back around, because biology and media and English. So those 3 A-levels are literally everything that I do now. The biology is like about, the plants. The media is what I work in, and English literature is what I write. So it's almost like I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't given the guidance or the support. And I was just so fiercely independent, and I wanted to get out and work. And so I left.
So what did you work as first?
Oh my gosh, I'd done so many jobs. So first of all, while I was still at school and at college, I was a waitress. And then when I left there, I worked in an old people's home for about 6 weeks and then quit because it was like horrendous. I worked in the office.
Didn't you like old people?
Oh no, the old people are absolutely lovely, but they die.
It must be quite emotionally hard.
Oh, it's horrible. It's just horrible. And then what did I do? Then I went and worked for an oil company. No, I worked at the job centre. I worked at the job centre just doing admin stuff. And then I got a job at an oil company. I think that's really where everything took off. So I started to work in HR, and then I left there. I moved to London. I worked in HR for a few years in London. I became a chartered HR manager. And then I went back to Norfolk.
What type of business was that in London?
It's almost all construction and architecture.
Okay.
And then
build a house, Ellen Mary. Yeah.
No, I couldn't build a house at all. No, I dealt with the people, not the actual construction. And then I worked at an architect in Norfolk.
I bet you're cute in high vis. Sorry, so architects in Norfolk, Yeah,
I worked there for a lot of years, and I was a chartered business manager, so I used all my HR skills and people skills. But while I was there, I loved the landscape. So like the master planning and the landscaping and seeing how that all came together, that always was amazing to me. But it was quite stressful working in HR. Like I had to make people redundant, I had to discipline people, all of that stuff. And, you know, the funny thing is I was doing it because I was earning money and my career was getting better. But also I didn't really like it because it wasn't really me. Doing that stuff isn't really me. And so I decided life's way too short not to be doing something you're really passionate about. And so I took my RHS qualifications part-time, so quite a lot of years ago now. And then I started
While you were
working,
still at the architects?
While I was still at the architects, but then I loved it so much I went part-time, which they very kindly let me do. And then so then I started like working in other people's gardens and getting all of that experience. And then eventually I realized that I could go it alone, so I left my job in HR, and I've been working in gardening ever since, really.
Oh, well, let me catch up with you, and then we can talk more about your gardening career. It's like a second birth, isn't it, Ellen? So where did I leave off? I need to catch up with you, darling. So I was 18. I've been at college. Yeah, I've been at college for 2 years. Didn't want to go to uni, really shy. Got to the end of the course, was like, oh my God. But because I was so shy, I was really kind of almost like crippled by that kind of lack of confidence and shyness. So I think I really was taking things just day by day, which obviously isn't that great, but I guess you sort of do when you're young anyway. But
yeah.
Anyway, I happened to see a competition in the local newspaper to design a garden at Thompson & Morgan. It's so funny, Ellen, because the number of times I told this story, it feels like I could tell it in my sleep. It's really funny, but of course there's always people that haven't heard it. So in the Ipswich Star, or it was called the Evening Star in those days, a competition. And so I designed a garden. It was really quite rudimentary design, blah, blah, blah. But I worked with a garden designer guy that I was working for kind of like part-time while I was at college, just a few evenings in the week. And he kind of helped me to come up with an idea to fill the garden with Suffolk raised plants. Right. So plants that had been like the poppies from Cedric Morris in Hadley, Mendlesham pinks from along the A140 as well, things like that. So I guess when I won the competition, it was because I showed a bit of initiative, marketing knowledge, and put a nice design in. So, yeah. So I won the competition, went up for a presentation. Oh, my God. Have I ever shown you the newspaper clippings of this? Oh, my God.
I don't think so.
I look like a piece of bloody willow. I'm like super skinny and like wearing clothes that kind of just drip off me like lard. It's just, oh my God.
That was totally the fashion then, like the big baggy clothes, Fruits of the Loom jumper.
The fashion was not fashion, that was the fashion.
Yeah, that's true. There was no fashion.
Oh my God. So that happened. I won a greenhouse, which was pretty cool, and £100 worth of seeds. And then just like afterwards, in those days, even though I was quite shy, I didn't mind kind of like writing to places, kind of like, you know, asking for stuff, arranging stuff. I forgot actually at some point when I was at school, we had work experience. I did work experience in a vet because for a very short space of time, I thought I might like to be a vet until I witnessed a castration on a Labrador. that you know, we delete that bit. So I was I wrote a letter. I wish I had a copy of that letter now. And I just kind of asked if there were any kind of job opportunities, I guess. And again, I wasn't thinking forward. I didn't really know what that would lead to, blah, blah. But I had a reply from the horticultural manager at the time, and they said, oh, we'd like to have an interview with you. And I must have been, oh my God, to go to this interview, I must have been such a, oh my God, nervous little geek. Like, why would you ever employ me? Gee. Anyway, they did. And I guess because I'd shown that real kind of like thirst with a TH for plants and that kind of interest. And yeah, and they kind of hooked onto that. I was obviously still super shy, but even in the first week of this role, which was kind of like a loose apprenticeship, we were going out and finding new plants. Like we drove to London to get a black flower delphinium. I had to fly probably in my first month to collect a star-shaped petunia from a garden in Glasgow as well. I wasn't even old enough to rent a car. I was really kind of like thrown in almost at the deep end. And And in those days, there wasn't email. So I was kind of like sending faxes, or maybe like I had to telephone call someone.
Oh, no, what? An actual telephone call.
I know. And I remember having this little in tray, and then, you know, my boss, this guy Martin, would give me kind of little tasks to do, and I'd have to see if I could find this plant or that, or kind of order a certain book or something. It's so weird now, Ellen, because if you think back to when you were like 18, 19, like in a job, like time went so slowly. But when I think like the things I did then was like, I could, oh my God, like the things I do now in a day were probably like a whole year in my life then.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I'll tell you something just quickly about the telephone thing. You know, like now, if you're embarrassed or you don't want to have that conversation, you can just literally WhatsApp someone. I mean, that's what everyone does, right? I can always remember having that job at this. It was like an oil recruitment company. Yeah. And I was about, I don't even know, maybe 19. I don't even know how old I was now. I can't even remember. But I was embarrassed to answer the phone. You know, like, I can't remember. You pick up, hello, welcome to da-da-da-da-da. How can I help you? And I was really embarrassed. And I'm not even a shy person, but that used to freak me out, picking up the phone.
There's something horrible about it, isn't there?
I know. It's really weird.
So anyway, I was kind of doing this job. It was really, really fun. And kind of I was thrown into a lot of stuff. And just started, I think even though I was kind of really shy, they kind of like just encouraged me into stuff. And I remember kind of doing tours on the press days around the plants. And and this guy kind of was really good at kind of being a mentor, as it were. But he left after he had an opportunity at Unwin's to be a director. And he left probably within 2 years, actually. So I was then kind of there on my own. But that actually probably was a good thing, because then I kind of accelerated almost a bit more quickly. And I remember, I always remember like having, because I guess I'd shown good initiative and I was then enjoying what I did. I was good at what I did. And because I enjoyed it, I was good at it. I remember kind of like getting a rise perhaps once every year or something. I always remember the letter was so exciting to receive it and like,
yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
And I started working on plant catalogues that he'd been working on, because he was working on seed and plant catalogues. And they kind of became my baby. So it was like this A4 catalogue that we did once a year that was about 50 pages big. And I'd choose all the products, source them, kind of arrange the photography. And kind of that was like a gentle baptism of fire, but really, enjoyable. And then I started working for the plant side of the company and kind of then getting more involved with that, and a guy called Paul Hansord, who then I guess sort of took me under his wing. It's so funny because over the years we always just respected each other but annoyed each other a lot. But I think because we were both trying to get to the same result, but just in very different ways. Yeah, it was really a very entertaining and interesting relationship we had.
We hope you enjoyed this episode about careers in horticulture. We will actually be back in 2 weeks with the second half of this episode with even more information about the diversity and incredible careers that you can have within the industry. So keep your eye on our feed, subscribe to Plant Based Podcast to be the first to know when that episode is released.
Series 6 of the Plant Based Podcast was brought to you with the help of Vivara UK. Vivara are a team of garden wildlife experts, and their mission is to make nature accessible to absolutely everyone. They provide plenty of ideas and solutions which can help you to create more wildlife habitats, and that's in large green spaces or even small urban areas. Why not go and join them at vivara.co.uk? The music for the Plant Based Podcast is part of the song Grow by Mikey James, and our editor is Gareth Patch of Semi Echo.